March 1943, day 80 at sea. A 9-foot shark thrashes half on deck of an 8-foot wooden raft. Poon Lim, 90 pounds of bone wrapped in sunburnt skin, crouches 3 inches from its jaws. He has no knife or gun, no rescue within 1,000 miles. His only weapon, a dented water jug. The shark lunges. Poon jams the jug between its teeth and hammers down with a metal biscuit tin until cartilage cracks. He's dying of thirst, and the only drinkable liquid for 100 miles pulses through that shark's liver. Most men die after 3 days without water. Poon Lim survived 133. A U.S. Navy ship spotted him on day 74, circled close enough for him to see the sailors' faces, then left him to die anyway. What he did next rewrote every survival manual in the Allied fleet. How did a mess steward outwit the ocean? And why did the Navy abandon him? November 23, 1942. 2 months earlier, the British merchant ship SS Ben Lomond cuts through the mid-Atlantic, 750 miles east of the Amazon Delta, running alone because convoys are scarce and U-boats are everywhere. Poon Lim, a 24-year-old second mess steward from Hainan Island, China, is below deck when the first torpedo strikes. The German U-172 has found its target. The explosion rips the Ben Lomond's hull open amidships. Boilers rupture. Steam scalds men in their bunks. The lights die. Emergency klaxons wail for 3 seconds, then choke into silence as seawater floods the electrical systems. Poon scrambles topside in darkness, barefoot, wearing only trousers and a thin shirt. The deck tilts 30 degrees. Men slide past him screaming, tumbling into the black water. He grabs a railing as the bow dips below the waves. 55 crew, 2 lifeboats, both jammed in their davits from the blast, useless hunks of wood that will sink with the ship. In less than 2 minutes, the Ben Lomond plunges bow first into the Atlantic. Poon leaps at the last possible second, hits the freezing water, and kicks toward the only object floating in the debris field, an 8-by-8-foot emergency life raft, designed for 6 men, but now claimed by 1. Dawn, November 24th, day 1. Poon hauls himself onto the raft, shivering, ears ringing. The horizon is empty. No lifeboats, no survivors clinging to wreckage. 54 men have vanished into the deep. He is alone. Most castaways spiral into panic within the first hour. Poon does something different. He audits his assets. The raft carries a small emergency cache, standard British maritime issue, intended to keep survivors alive until rescue arrives within a week. Poon inventories every item in the morning light, a 40-liter water tank, perhaps 90 days of drinking if rationed to 2 mouthfuls a day, 6 tins of hardtack biscuits, 2 pounds of chocolate, a few cans of pemmican, that dense beef paste explorers swear by, 5 cans of evaporated milk, a tin of sugar cubes. For tools, he finds a flashlight, a canvas tarpaulin, 2 flares, 2 smoke pots, a bottle of lime juice, and oddly, a bottle of massage oil. Roughly 50 days of calories, maybe 60 if he starves slowly. Poon does the math. The Ben Lomond sank 750 miles from the Brazilian coast. The South Atlantic current drifts westward at roughly 5 miles per day. At that rate, land is 150 days away. He has supplies for 50. The arithmetic is a death sentence unless he changes the variables. That first night, Poon ties a hemp rope around his wrist and lashes the other end to the raft's center post. If he rolls in his sleep, the rope will yank him awake before the sharks do. He sets a schedule: mornings for exercise, swimming laps around the raft while gripping its edge to prevent muscle atrophy, midday for fishing attempts, evenings for gear maintenance and navigation checks by the stars. No idle drifting, no self-pity. The raft is a war bunker. He is the only soldier. Day 10. Poon's skin blisters under the equatorial sun, despite the tarpaulin canopy he rigs from the canvas. He rations himself to a single biscuit per day, 2 swallows of water at dawn, 2 at dusk. Weight drops. Cheekbones sharpen. Day 20. Dark clouds roll in. Poon spreads his canvas life jacket to catch the rain, funneling precious fresh water into his parched mouth, then into the tank. The jacket becomes a rain catch system, the first of many improvisations that will keep him alive. Day 40. The chocolate is gone. The pemmican is gone. The milk tins sit empty, scraped clean. Poon's body has begun consuming itself, fat reserves first, then muscle. He scans the horizon every waking hour. No ship, no plane. The ocean offers nothing but silence and swells. Day 50. The final hardtack biscuit. He breaks it into 4 pieces, eats 1 fragment per hour, prolonging the ritual until the crumbs dissolve on his tongue. The water tank gurgles near empty. Day 55. Poon tilts the jug. A single drop rolls onto his tongue. Then nothing. The rations are gone. His calculations were precise. 50 days of supplies, 50 days of life. Now mathematics gives way to something else. If he does not invent a new way to eat and drink, he will be dead within the week. The rationing phase is over. Now the engineering phase begins. But how do you catch food with no fishing rod, no net, and no bait? And what was Poon about to do with a flashlight that would make MacGyver jealous? Day 56. Dawn breaks on an empty stomach and a dehydrated brain. Poon's tongue feels like salted leather. Rescue remains a phantom. He stares at the raft's meager contents and asks himself a question no castaway had ever answered. How do you build a fishing kit from garbage? His eyes land on the flashlight, useless without batteries, but inside its casing coils a small steel spring. Poon cracks the flashlight open, extracts the spring, and grinds one end against the raft's concrete ballast for 3 hours until a sharp barb emerges. A fishhook. Next, he unbraids the hemp rope lining the raft's edge, twisting the fibers into a thin but strong fishing line. For bait, he crushes the last crumbs of hardtack from the empty tin. British biscuits may taste like cardboard to humans, but the fish below have never sampled Royal Navy cuisine. Now he needs a knife. The biscuit tin itself is thin metal. Poon pries a nail from the raft's planks, punches through the tin, and bends a shard into a crude blade, flimsy but sharp enough to scale a fish. In 24 hours, a stranded sailor has transformed scraps into a survival toolkit. That afternoon, Poon casts his improvised line into the blue void. Minutes stretch. His vision blurs. Then, a tug. The line jerks. He hauls up a 6-inch fish, silver and wriggling. Hardly a feast, but it is life. He bites into the raw flesh without hesitation. Warm, salty, slick with guts. It is vile. It is also protein and moisture, the 2 currencies he needs most. Day 58. Using the first fish's intestines as bait, Poon catches a larger specimen. Day 60. A small mackerel. He refines the technique. Catch, gut, bait, repeat. On sunny days, he slices thin strips of fish and dries them on the raft's planks, creating jerky for lean times. In a world without fresh water, raw fish flesh itself becomes a hydration source, each bite releasing a trickle of fluid into his bloodstream. By day 65, Poon has built a system. Rain refills the water jug. Fish feed his body. The equatorial sun tries to kill him, but he shelters under his canopy and waits for dusk. He even permits himself a grim toast, raising his water jug to the empty horizon. Is that all you've got? The ocean answers on day 70. The sky bruises purple-black in less than an hour. Wind moans across the swells, then escalates to a shriek. A storm rolls in with no warning, waves exploding across the raft like artillery shells. Poon lashes himself to the center post as lightning splits the darkness, each flash illuminating walls of water 20 feet high bearing down on him. The raft pitches 45 degrees, nearly vertical. His water jug flies across the deck and slams into the far edge. A rogue wave, larger than the rest, curling white at its crest, flips the raft completely. Poon plunges underwater, tethered only by the wrist rope, salt stinging his eyes, lungs burning. He kicks frantically, disoriented, unsure which way is up. The rope yanks tight. The raft has righted itself, bobbing on the surface like a cork. He hauls himself back aboard, coughing seawater, heart slamming against his ribs. The storm rages for another 6 hours. By the time the wind dies, one corner of the raft has splintered and the canvas rain catch hangs in shredded ribbons. By dawn of day 71, the storm has passed. The ocean lies eerily calm, as if nothing happened. But Poon's supplies are gone. His dried fish reserve washed overboard. His canvas rain catch shredded to ribbons. His water tank contaminated with brine. He is back to zero. Worse than zero. 71 days into the ordeal, and the Atlantic has reset the clock. His vision darkens at the edges. Dehydration claws at his skull. Through the haze, a shadow moves beneath the raft. Then another, dorsal fins. Sharks have caught the scent of fish blood from the storm's chaos. 3 of them circle now, gray torpedoes with sandpaper skin and rows of serrated teeth. Most castaways would recoil. Poon narrows his eyes. Those sharks carry gallons of blood and pounds of meat, exactly what he needs to survive. The small fish were appetizers. Here, circling his raft, is the main course. Could a starving man on a wooden platform actually hunt a shark? And what insane bait would he use to lure a predator onto his deck? Day 72. Poon Lim prepares for a battle no castaway has ever won. Sharks snap fishing line like thread. He needs stronger tackle and better bait. Opportunity arrives from the sky around midday. A lone seabird, a petrel, swoops down to investigate the raft. Poon has caught gulls before, snatching them when they perch on the wood. This time he goes still as a corpse, letting his gaunt frame sag, mimicking death. The bird lands on the raft's edge, pecking at dried fish residue. Poon lunges, his cracked hands close around feathers. The petrel screams, thrashes, then goes silent. It is a brutal, necessary kill. He now has bait. Poon braids his fishing line into a quadruple-thick cord and bends a second nail into a larger hook. He wraps canvas strips around his palms, not armor, but enough to prevent the line from slicing his fingers. At twilight, he ties the dead bird to his line and casts it into the pink-stained water. The sharks circle. Poon grips the rope. Every muscle coils. The strike comes fast. The line yanks so hard it nearly pulls him overboard, rope burning through the canvas wraps on his palms. A 5-foot blue shark has taken the bait and is fighting like a demon, diving deep, then surging toward the surface. Poon braces his feet against the raft's edge and hauls, biceps trembling, shoulders popping, lower back screaming. The shark breaks the surface in an explosion of spray, thrashing, tail slapping the water into foam, jaws snapping at the air. The raft tilts dangerously as Poon leans back with all his weight. With a guttural roar that tears his parched throat, he wrenches the shark onto the deck. Chaos erupts. The shark is not dead, not even close. It flops and writhes, 100 pounds of muscle and teeth, its tail striking Poon's thigh hard enough to leave a welt. Its sandpaper flank scrapes his forearm raw through the canvas wrappings, drawing blood. Poon scrambles backward, nearly slipping on the wet planks, and grabs his water jug, the same dented container that held his drinking supply for 2 months. He brings it crashing down on the shark's skull. Once. The shark twists, jaws snapping. Twice. Its teeth clamp onto his left forearm, mostly cloth, but pain sears from wrist to shoulder like a hot wire. He howls, hammers again, feels cartilage crack beneath the metal. The shark shudders, thrashes one more time, then goes still. Poon collapses backward, chest heaving, vision swimming. His forearm bleeds in 3 places, but the wounds are shallow. The canvas saved him from a severed artery. He has won. A starving man has killed a shark with a water jug. That night, by moonlight, he slices the shark's belly open with his tin-shard knife. The liver emerges, dark and slick, rich with fluids. Poon raises it to his cracked lips and drinks the blood that pools out. Warm, metallic, revolting. Also, life. Shark blood is the closest thing to fresh water he has tasted in days. Strength trickles back into his limbs. He cuts strips of meat and eats them raw, ignoring the ammonia tang. On this raft, squeamishness is a luxury he cannot afford. By dawn of day 73, Poon has carved every usable part from the carcass. Meat strips drying on the mast poles, liver consumed, fins hung to cure. For the first time in weeks, he is full. But the scent of blood has advertised a buffet. By afternoon, 6 new sharks circle the raft, larger than the first, ramming the wood hard enough to rattle his teeth. They want revenge, or dinner. The siege begins at dusk and lasts through the night. Poon sits in the raft's center, jug in hand, kicking the planks and shouting whenever a shark bumps from below. Sleep is impossible. Every few minutes, thud, scrape, bump. The hunters are patient. Then, just before dawn on day 74, Poon sees something that stops his breath. A ship on the horizon. Gray hull, military silhouette, a U.S. Navy patrol craft cutting through the swells 2 miles out. His heart slams. He scrambles for the flare gun, loads one of his last cartridges, and fires. The magnesium streak arcs across the pink sky. He waves, screams, jumps on the unstable raft until the sharks scatter. The ship changes course. It is coming toward him. But why were American sailors about to make a decision that would haunt Poon Lim for the rest of his life? The patrol ship slows as it approaches the strange sight. A skeletal man standing on a battered raft, waving frantically, surrounded by circling fins. Poon Lim can see uniformed figures on the deck now, binoculars glinting in the morning sun. He shouts in English, voice cracked but clear. "Help! British crew! Ship sunk!" A sailor points. Another speaks into a radio. They have spotted him. Rescue is here. Except it isn't. On the bridge, the captain hesitates. It is 1943. The Pacific War rages. Japanese submarines operate in these waters. An Asian man alone on a raft? Could this be a trap? A downed pilot used as bait to lure Allied ships within torpedo range? The calculus of wartime paranoia spins through the captain's mind. Poon waves desperately, holding up his empty hands, showing he is unarmed. The ship's signal lamp blinks in his direction, Morse code he cannot read against the glare. Instead of closing the distance, the patrol craft maintains its position. Poon's smile fades. Why aren't they picking him up? He grabs a smoke pot, ignites it, and sends a plume of scarlet smoke into the sky. The international distress signal, unmistakable, universal. The ship's engines rev. The craft begins to turn away. Poon screams, voice tearing, "No!" The red smoke drifts around him as the hull shrinks on the horizon. They saw him. They were close enough to count the sharks. And they left. He stands frozen on the raft, smoke curling past his face. A choking fury rises in his throat. Not a sob, but a roar, guttural and raw, scattering the seabirds perched on the mast. The system has deemed him not worth saving. Whether because of his race or wartime paranoia, it does not matter. They left him to die. Day 74 nearly breaks him. Poon curls on the raft, trembling not from cold, but from the soul-deep wound of rejection. He replays the moment in his mind, the faces on deck, the binoculars, the signal lamp, and each replay cuts deeper. It would be easy to let go, slide into the water, let the blue swallow him. No more fighting, no more hunger, no more waking up to an empty horizon. Just silence, and then nothing. For hours, Poon drifts in this dark place. He stares at the water and imagines the release of simply giving up. The sharks are gone for now, scared off by the flares, but they will return. Why fight them? Why fight anything? The sun crosses the sky and he barely notices. His body is shutting down, but it is his mind that has stopped first. But Poon Lim did not endure 74 days of hell to surrender now. Somewhere deep in his chest, beneath the despair, anger sparks a small flame. Not rage, something colder, more useful. Determination. If humanity will not help him, he will help himself. He sits up, slow and deliberate, salt-crusted eyes hardening into something new. Fine. Let them leave. He will survive in spite of them. He will outlast the ocean, the sharks, and every captain who ever sailed past a dying man. He rolls into the water, tethered by rope, always tethered, and scrapes barnacles from the raft's hull with his bare hands, reducing drag, ignoring the small cuts the shells leave on his fingertips. He lashes cracked planks with strips torn from his own shirt, reinforcing joints that have loosened after 3 months of sun and salt. He catches fish when he can, eats them raw, uses the guts to catch more. He kills another shark on day 82, a smaller one this time, 4 feet long, and drinks its blood like water from a canteen. He dries the meat on the mast poles. Day 90, day 100, day 110. The calendar rope he once knotted each morning has been abandoned. He tracks time by the moon now, by the slow westward drift of stars. His body is a skeleton wrapped in burnt leather, cheekbones jutting like tent poles beneath his skin. But his muscles still obey, a credit to those daily exercises, those morning swims around the raft, and pure, stubborn will. On the morning of day 110, Poon wakes to a new smell. Vegetation, mud, land. His heart pounds. He scans the horizon and sees it at sunset, a thin, dark line to the west. Not a cloud. Coastline. Brazil. After nearly 4 months adrift, the mere sight of solid earth makes his eyes sting. But the current reveals a cruel trick. He is drifting parallel to the coast, not toward it. Palm trees and cliffs taunt him from miles away, sliding past like scenery through a train window. If he does not act, he will drift past inhabited areas and back into open ocean. Would Poon's final gamble pay off, or would the Atlantic claim him within sight of salvation? Day 111. Dawn breaks bright and clear, the horizon sharp as a blade. The coastline hovers a few miles to the west, close enough to see the green blur of jungle, close enough to smell vegetation on the breeze, far enough to kill him if he fails. Poon gathers every ounce of strength left in his ravaged body. His arms are ropes of sinew, his legs have withered to sticks. But the mind that calculated rations down to the calorie, that built fishhooks from flashlight springs, still burns with purpose. He rips a plank from the raft's corner, wraps canvas around one end to widen the blade, and fashions a crude paddle. Then he begins to row. Every stroke is agony. His shoulders grind in their sockets like stone on stone. The current fights him, an invisible hand dragging the raft northward while he angles west, paddling at a desperate diagonal. He rows for an hour, collapses in exhaustion, lies on the planks staring at the sky, then forces himself upright and paddles again. The tropical sun bears down. Blisters split on his palms, weep, and split again. He wraps his hands in the last scraps of his shirt and keeps rowing. The jungle inches closer. A mile, half a mile. This is the final exam, the last ordeal. And failure means drifting past the coast and back into the open Atlantic to die within sight of land. Day 133. Morning. Poon Lim is a specter of a man, barely upright, still paddling in short bursts. The water around him has turned murky green-brown, thick with silt, coastal shallows. And there, on the horizon, movement that is not waves, a small fishing boat. Poon rasps something between a laugh and a sob. Brazilian fishermen are checking their nets off the coast of Pará, and his raft has drifted into view. At first, they think they are seeing a ghost, a skeletal figure on a makeshift platform waving a bony arm. As they draw closer, their shock only grows. They find an emaciated Chinese sailor, sun-scorched and wild-haired, standing on a raft held together by rope and willpower. They expect a corpse, but Poon Lim, upon realizing help is truly at hand, summons a final reserve of dignity. He stands tall, shaky, but resolute. As the fishing boat pulls alongside, he speaks in a voice cracked and accented. "I am Poon Lim. Thank you." He refuses to be carried. With one hand on a fisherman's shoulder, he steps onto their boat. Then his knees buckle. They catch him. He weighs barely 100 pounds, having lost 20 during his odyssey. The ordeal is over. Day 133 has ended in life. They take him to Belém, Brazil. Poon spends 35 days in a hospital, relearning how to digest solid food, regaining the weight that the Atlantic stripped from his bones. Doctors, sailors, reporters, everyone asks the same question. How did one man conquer the sea for so long? When Poon recovers, the British authorities arrange passage home. Word spreads of the sailor who survived 133 days on a raft, the longest anyone had ever endured. King George VI awards him the British Empire Medal for exceptional courage and resourcefulness. Poon accepts quietly with a single comment: "I hope no one ever has to break my record." His techniques, the fish hook from a flashlight spring, the rain catch from a life jacket, the shark hunting with a water jug, become required reading in naval survival manuals. The Royal Navy and later navies around the world incorporate his methods into training. The very fleet that abandoned him on day 74 ended up learning how to live from the man they left to die. Poon Lim moved to Brooklyn after the war, became an American citizen, and lived quietly until 1991. He never sought the spotlight, but his 133-day record stood for decades, a benchmark of human endurance that most experts thought impossible. In survival schools from Annapolis to Portsmouth, instructors still teach the Poon Lim methods, unaware that their curriculum was written in shark blood by a mess steward who simply refused to quit. The ocean wanted him dead. Poon Lim disagreed. If you want to see another impossible survival story, a man who outwitted an even more dangerous enemy using nothing but his mind, watch the video on screen now.